Hello guys, welcome back to another weekly market update. Yes, we did take a break because of the IB event we did at the Museum of the Future in Dubai, but here we are back at it like a good habit. Ramadan Mubarak for those who are fasting and celebrating. Well, it's not really a celebration, but correlated. All right, about markets. Last week was a cool week. We witnessed a little bit of volatility because of the tension geopolitically between the US and Iran. However, we got a negative GDP from the United States, but it finished as a good sign of optimism over markets because the Supreme Court had struck down the broad tariffs that Donald Trump has implemented here and there, which showed optimism or reflected as an optimism on European markets and NASDAQ and S&P 500. So from now on, we're more likely to see, or hopefully to see, more optimism in markets, and should be a good few weeks to come. Let's see how that is on charts. All right, everyone, welcome back to the series. So first thing first, we're going into NASDAQ. Looking at NASDAQ, it's in a very interesting spot. As we can see that NASDAQ had trades from a pretty solid resistance here, although we have a lot of bullish indications for NASDAQ. So first of all, we have a new Federal Reserve head, which people are optimistic about the implementations he will be bringing to the scene. Also, we have the court or the Supreme Court striking these tariffs off the papers, which shall strengthen the business now in and out the United States. Technically, we have a very nice symmetrical triangle here that market had broke above it and retraced to, which was also a break and retracement above the trend line of this bearish movement. Also, not to forget that we do have a very beautiful bullish momentum candle here, right? And a very interesting doji here, as in a filling. Okay, it's not really a fair value gap, but it's a retracement to that support here. So it's giving us this beautiful indication that NASDAQ is actually bullish, and what we probably are going to see is a continuation to the upside, probably filling this fair value gap here, right? So this is what I'm optimally looking to see on NASDAQ. That's about NASDAQ. Let's go into gold. All right, guys, looking at gold is always interesting in my opinion. All right, in everyone's opinions to be fair, but looking at it, forget about this retracement of Fibonacci levels. So what we are seeing here is there is a massive ascending triangle getting cooked right now on the daily time frame of gold, 2 hour time frames, 4 hours, all time frames that are major, right? If we can notice that at this level, which is 5,100, previously also gold formed some sort of ascending triangle too, which found rejection at before an interesting impulsive move to the upside. Now, I'm not telling you that gold shall be very impulsive to the upside, because we have that slight, let's say, sentiment as in bullish over stocks and the economy overall. However, these geopolitical tensions between US and Iran are still causing people to be more tilted to buy gold, and that I had highlighted 2 weeks ago when gold was just moving up. I was telling you guys it's consolidating because factors are weighted on both sides, but we have a slight bullish opinion over it, and that's exactly the case. We can see it consolidating, slight bullish opinion or sentiment over it, and that's what caused this ascending triangle. So we can see actually a lot of interesting factors here why this basically move might actually continue to the upside and break above this. Well, next movement I would presume gold to move it is about 5,300, a little bit less probably, maybe a little bit, but that's the anticipation. Not all that move, something like that. Could go further up, to be honest. We could, in an alternative scenario, see it retracing, right, where it might go retraces to this support or even take liquidity from these lows before a movement to the upside, right? Even if it does something like that, it would still be forming a very solid ascending triangle pattern, right? So that's in an optimal move. It could actually open above this resistance and break it out, yes, we still are bullish. Either ways, if you're looking to go for a long entry on gold right now, it will be the same suggested, let's say, low as in a stop loss to what I'd recommend. So we could aim for 4,914.15 right below this green candle as a stop loss, as a personal decision. Right? Results are not typical. This is not a financial advice, and you guys do what you see optimal to your strategies and preferences. That's about gold. Let's go into Bitcoin. Going into Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is a very, very interesting asset, guys. So as we can see, Bitcoin has been moving for a while as in a symmetrical triangle, consolidating between here and there after a large fall to the downside, reaching to a solid support of the level 60,000. Now, I want to briefly give you a summary about what's happened in the background with Bitcoin. So all of this fall was actually majorly bought by the world's largest Bitcoin holder, which is Strategy, or formerly known as MicroStrategy, taking the lead of, they've bought approximately 45 to 50,000 Bitcoins from this fall itself. The second biggest buyer was the United States government, buying approximately 4,500 Bitcoin. Now, one more thing to keep in mind, guys, that the vision of MicroStrategy, that Bitcoin is the asset to hold for the future, right? At some point, once all these fiat currencies are digitalized, they will need a reserve in the bank to have it against these digital currencies. And what is better than the biggest digital asset on the planet to be used as a reserve? As the Americans or the United States government will be using Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP as a reserve, but they already have a very solid reserve of Bitcoin. They just need to put in action. All that takes for this to happen is one monetary policy telling people or that the government is willing to accept Bitcoin for transactions or whatever it is, as in government papers, interactions, and boom, Bitcoin becomes our new day-to-day currency to be used. Like they had tested that by March 2021 when Elon Musk had told people that now is the time to buy Tesla with Bitcoin. I believe that was a testing the public with the possibilities, whether the public is willing actually to use Bitcoin to buy and sell items or not. And ultimately, it brought some very, very good results, and that's what the future is holding. I keep a very keen interest that now is a very good historical time to invest in Bitcoin for long term, all right? And we might see a liquidation to the downside before a movement to the upside. Either ways, this is our support, this is our resistance. Market is consolidating. Regardless if it liquidates or moves to the upside directly, it's still consolidating. So this is the range of consolidation, not actually the symmetrical triangle itself. Now, the best investment on the planet, to what I estimate right now, and I personally consider it as the next Nvidia, is MicroStrategy stocks. I'm going to show you that on chart right now. So looking at MicroStrategy stock, guys, this could be a historical time to buy this stock. For me personally, I see it as the next Nvidia as in movement. And the reason behind that is people had believed in Bitcoin, those who are buying it and using it and all of that, for a good amount of time. Before this crash, it has caused it to fall approximately 50%. This crash does not mean that Bitcoin is worthless. This crash means that Bitcoin is at a very good, attractive, discounted price. And this company precisely that have a major header policy just to buy Bitcoin over time for the future, because they understand at some point in the future, the universal banking system will be relying on Bitcoin as a reserve and for international trades. It's already been used, but not at that much of a bigger scale. So right now, we can see that the highest the MSTR or the MicroStrategy stock had gone to is approximately 540. And right now it's at the level of $130 per stock, which is, as we can see, it's a historical price for this stock to skyrocket, making incredible amounts of profit for those who had bought at that before. So right now it is at the trend line, technically at a very, very strong demand zone. And also we have candle confirmation for this momentum and demand over the stock. So if you go for an investment on the stock, as in a movement based on Fibonacci and natural synchronization of price movements, we could expect the stock with time to go above $900 per stock, and this could be estimated to be more than 600% profit on the investment in the stock over time. So this stock, once the world realizes the importance of Bitcoin, especially because we were mining Bitcoin, yes, it won't be finished mining before like 2140s, but at some point, when all these organizations, governments understand the value of Bitcoin, and notice the biggest governments are holding Bitcoin are Chinese and Americans. Okay, let's not go into details, but you guys know how big these economies are in these countries and their influence upon the universe. And also we have MicroStrategy holding the biggest reserve, as in more than 714,000 Bitcoins as in February 2026. So once people realize the value, or the world realizes the value of Bitcoin, these people will have an incredible amount of power on this planet, and this stock will go to the clouds. One more thing is, over time, all these governments are digitalizing their currencies that will need Bitcoin to be used as the digital asset to back up as a reserve these currencies. And already Donald Trump had spoken about this earlier, where he is willing to take Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP as a reserve in the central bank. And on the past period of 2 months, we have a lot of big, or institutions, rather say, putting a lot of money. You guys can Google that. One of them had put more than $400 million as in systematic investment in Bitcoin. The largest bank in Switzerland had also bought like $140 million worth of Bitcoin. So the big participants are already making their moves. As an investor, you never want to invest when everybody else is talking about the stock or the asset. You want to invest when these big people are seeing the vision and start buying prices at low prices to make the best possible outcome out of it. So that's about MicroStrategy. Let's continue our market update with Euro USD. All right, looking at Euro USD, it is actually pretty bearish for multiple reasons. Technically, it is in a descending triangle pattern, as we can see here, right? And fundamentally, we have a bullish sentiment upon the dollar because of what came up to the market recently, as I've highlighted some of it, and now Median will be speaking about more to come. So we can see that USD had retraced to this minor resistance. We could possibly see a continuation for it to go to this trend line before an attempt to break below this level and reach to our next support. So could fall actually from here, but whatever you do, make sure to stick to solid risk management rules according to your strategy and risk tolerance. That's about Euro USD. Let's go into Nifty 50. So Nifty 50, as we can see, I had spoken about this massive bearish movement previously. Well, we did get a lot of decent bullish sentiment about or upon Nifty 50 after this crash. And I told you guys this would fall, or this asset would fall to this support. As I had highlighted, it did fall. But because of this bearish Marubozo here and this bearish engulfing here, and recently as market closed, we see this slight rejection. I'm more into the bearish side on Nifty 50 for now than the bullish side, right? Either ways, it could move to both directions because it was a very impulsive movement, as we can see, twice from this level of demand, right? So this could be a key level actually holding these people who bought impulsively from this price, as in holding their positions open, or basically increasing their position upon the investment or the trade on Nifty 50. So it could go either directions, but I'm more on the bearish side. Be careful when you're trading Nifty 50. If you're going for a bearish trade, you could optimally, as I would, put your stop loss above this candle, and this would be your target for a trade, which is about 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio. Either ways, from a very strong demand and very strong resistance, the price is about the middle. So when price is in the middle of a range, you wouldn't optimally want to do anything with it. That's about the technical outlook for the upcoming week and as an investment.
Charts are looking nice.
Of course they are.
And now let's go into fundamentals. Thank you, Samir, for sharing your valuable and practical information on the technical side. Here is Amir Amidian, Master of Finance and Investment student in UK, and also financial market analyst at Xylostar. Last week, Donald Trump gave his final warning to Iran. And by the way, we received some different PMI numbers from the different regions in the European Union and also US. Let's have a look. Greetings everyone, welcome back to another weekly market update. So today we are going to talk about geopolitics, corporate earnings, and economic indicators, and let's see what happened in the last week and what we're going to expect to receive for the upcoming week. I want to start our session with the last week with the FOMC minutes. Finally, after 2 weeks, we got the latest update of the Fed minutes, which gives us a clear image of the latest updates for the interest rate, inflation, and labor market in the United States. So the Fed kept the interest rate unchanged, signaling it is not in a hurry to cut. Officials said inflation is still too sticky and they need more evidence it's moving toward the 2%. And also in the minutes, they stated that policymakers stressed a data-dependent approach, keeping the possibility of either cuts or further tightening to the financial markets. Let's come to the UK. UK inflation cooled further in January 2026, with CPI falling to 3% year-on-year and CPIH easing to 3.2% as transport and food prices declined. Core inflation, the most critical part of it, also edged lower, although services inflation remains relatively elevated, suggesting underlying pressures are easing gradually and supporting a cautious stance from the Bank of England. For the first time since 400 years ago, police searches at the former residence of Prince Andrew have entered a third day as part of an ongoing misconduct investigation. The UK government is considering legislation to remove him from the royal line of succession pending the outcome, making a potential move involving the British royal family. From the United States, US business activity expanded at its slowest pace in 10 months in February, weighted down by weak demand, high prices, and adverse weather, with factory orders even falling. While some firms expect a temporary rebound as conditions improve, overall confidence remains subdued amid political uncertainty and tariff driving higher costs and limiting the sales growth. From the European Union, Germany's economy shows clear signs of recovery, with the manufacturing PMI returning to expansion for the first time in over 3.5 years, supported by rising new orders and order backlogs. While the service sector growth is strong, cautious hiring and moderate price increases suggest expansion may moderate. But overall optimism points to GDP growth of over 1% in 2026, aided by infrastructure and military spending. Last week, we also received the first release of the GDP for the fourth quarter of 2025 in the United States from October to December, with 1.4% annual rate growth, slowing from 4.4% in the third quarter of 2025, driven by consumer spending and investment, while decline in government spending and exports weighted on the growth. Real final sales to private domestic purchases rose 2.4% and inflation pressures remained steady, with the PCE price index up 2.9%. From the geopolitical side, Trump warned Iran it has 10 to 15 days to agree a new nuclear deal or face really bad things, hinting at possible limited military strikes. Tensions remained high as Tehran signals it won't give up on the nuclear rights, while the US strengthens its military presence in the Gulf. Last but not least, from the corporate earnings, last week we received the Walmart corporate earnings for the fourth quarter of 2025. As the retail giant, Walmart beat the quarterly expectations but warned on guidance for the future outcome. It put pressure on the stock's price. For the week ahead, the main concentration will be on the US and Iran negotiations, and let's see what will be the outcome. And also, we are going to get some crucial economic indicators such as CPI for the Australian dollar on Wednesday 25th of February, and eventually on Friday 27th of Feb we are gonna get the PPI and core PPI from the United States, and also GDP for the Canadian dollar. From the corporate earnings, next week is going to be also vital, as we are going to receive the Nvidia, Home Depot, AMC, Salesforce, Domino Pizza, and also Energy Fuels in the United States. Stay tuned with Xylostar. See you next week.
Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for the upcoming updates.
Kindly drop a like, will really be helpful. And if you have any questions, don't forget to leave it down in the comment section. We'll have you updated upon that.